Hello, welcome to everyone. Okay, perfect. So thank you to everyone to be there. And thank you to all participants of this webinar, which is part of the TechShare Dare event organized by Netval, patronized by the Ufficio Brevetti e Marchi. This webinar in particular is organized by the Politecnico di Torino and in particular by the TRIN area, which is the Technology Transfer and Industrial Liaison Department, with the aim to introduce and discuss on the topic of technology for sustainable architectural infrastructure in the search and topic of innovative solution for the building sector toward a greener world. I also want to thank you, especially the organization of this meeting and the Politecnico unit, so Alice Rosiello and David Drago, that have strongly worked to support all aspects of this event. The objective of this specific meeting is to have a look inside current methodologies and criticalities which are connected to sustainable technologies, innovations in the built environment. So looking at processes, project and product with special regard to processes and products. It is evident at European level, at least, a growing interest on new and transition technologies toward green building, which is also strongly supported by EU funded and regulation. We can think about Green Deals and the Horizon 2030, 2050, and all the inclusion of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. It is clear also the need to reduce the energy need in the building sector, which is about responsible for 40–42% of current primary energy consumption and of 30% of global CO2 emissions. So it's clearly important to work on this topic to support innovation toward a more sustainable world and development. The webinar will mainly benefit by the expertise of the 5 valuable speakers that will follow me about technologies and innovation. Everyone that will be presenting and discussing during the webinar are clearly looking and will support innovation in the architectural and building sector in order to reduce and to introduce new solutions related to renewable energy sources, the management of energy consumption, implementation, optimization of existing and new solutions, including intelligent algorithm, IE and IoT worlds. We hope clearly also to speak and a bit underline potential present criticalities in innovation barriers in the market, thanks to the expertise clearly of the relators, and is also quite recognized the fact that building sector is a sector that historically is quite reluctant to introduce innovation and complexities. Nevertheless, a large series of new solutions and innovation are clearly evident toward architectural and green building domain, several of which are expected to be supported or are already supported by European research and development funds or proof of concept and so on. If we think about regulation and upgrading driven by regulation in this point of view, it's clearly the impact that Energy and Building Performance Directive with all the current and ongoing upgrading of it at European and national level has supported this improvement of energy performance and efficiency in building and building system. It's clear nowadays, for example, there is about 10 ongoing funded projects with the full aim to implement and support future parts of the Energy Building Performance Directive. For example, I'm the technical manager of one of this project, which is EDICE, including dynamic models, the improvement of the impact of VBD on the markets, the possibility to evaluate not only energy, but also indoor environmental quality, comfort issues, and the need to include in this approach smart monitoring and also the elements connected to smartness in general. It's clear that the smart management of building and building system, including several actions like user activations, the essential innovation field connected also to sustainable architecture on the point of view. And also on this topic, there is a lot of ongoing and future expected European funds and supporting future Horizon Europe and now semi-close Horizon 2020 project. We also have in this another one, which is Prelude, which is underdeveloped together also with Iran Smart Solution for supporting the smartest in building and the correlation of sensor actuation and user activation for comfort and energy impactful knowledge and improvement. The domain is also interesting clearly, but they develop a new indicator, like for example, the smart readiness indicator that recently in October 2020 was transferred by the Commission to a delegated regulation and implemented regulation, and it will be potentially made further support the implementation at national level with the consequent development of smart readiness indication and assort in its integration in MPPT, so in the energy lab. The working indicator evaluation of building performance is clearly correlated to green aspect and find a strong correlation with new and upgraded evaluation solutions. And also will benefit a lot by the potential to integrate more and more advanced BIM potentialities, including digital twin, development and standardization of the detailed description of the models, advanced possibility to integrate to these kind of technologies, run simulation and highly detailed models, because now the power of computational power is growing more and more and will be also reducing more and more in the dimension and possibility to spread near the system or near centralized control elements. All of these assets are more and more clearly connected to monitoring system and new implementation and building environment, management and control, including predictive maintenance, advanced and control solutions, cellular derivation, production of new materials, and whenever it is connected directly to sustainable in building with all these aspects connected to it. Before giving the floor to webinar valuable speaker, I will shortly introduce the structure of this event, which is considered to support technological transfer issues and criticalities according to different profile and vision. So we will have the possibility to interact with brains without the passage, which can also correlate and present in a way that the passages from a startup to a small medium enterprise approach to the market and energy sector. We will have the potentially a very good benefit by DreamEt, which is more medium enterprise interest in research and development and supporting new technologies and patents. We will have the possibility to listen from Control Tech, which is a new launch startup spin-off connected to Polytechnico. And furthermore, the great interest of large enterprises in innovation, research and development, including collaboration with research institutes, startup, small medium enterprise, like the great expertise that has on this topic. And last but not least, clearly, we will have the possibility to have a look inside market investment funds to understand the current direction in green architecture and system to capital new funds towards sustainability in the built environment. I will also suggest every one of you to have a look during this presentation to the correlated technologies proposed both by Polytechnic and other universities that will connect it to this event. To not take more time to the valuable speakers, I will only shortly introduce the first one, which is Dr. Ivo Gattulli, which is the market manager at NA-Brain, a startup that is possibly growing and impacting on the market towards its passages to small, more medium enterprise, thanks to the smart system, so energy monitoring, optimization, and so on. But the best things I think to enter in this specific topic is to leave the step to Ivo Gattulli. Please, I will give you the presentation.
Thank you very much, Professor. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. I need to find you. Okay. Okay.
I guess there's again the privacy issue. Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot share, but if it's good for you, I will go through as fast as possible in the meaning telling what NA-Brain is and which is our value proposition so far from a technical, from a technological point of view, or if you can share by yourself.
I think potentially you have the PDF.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can start. I will arrive as soon as possible.
Okay, so yeah, no problem. I can go through quickly. And brain, first of all, as I say, thank you for all the organizers, because it's been really interesting to have this opportunity for us, and also to share our current position on the market, and above all our perspective, because as any technological scale up for us is crucial, not only our position, but above all the trend, the perspective in terms of technology and market development. And as I can see, you got the presentation. Perfect.
Yes.
And the brain is as I said, is a scale up, meaning is a company in this moment is 6 years old, is in his own 6th year of life. Was born here in Turin, and from a really simple, at the same time brilliant idea regarding the possibility to manage in a different way a common residential heater, natural gas powered heater, meaning. And it's been quite impressive in terms of technological scale up, because in just 6 years the pattern of the company has been just incredible. As you can see from these figures today, the technology supplied by the company is installed in 400 buildings all over 13 countries, many of which out of European Union, and we have 12 pending patents. And our specific technology is basically a IoT platform optimized by an artificial intelligence algorithm, meaning that we are not an hardware producer just, or a software company just. The tricky part, and also the fascinating part of the business, is to keep together all these different layers of technology, and above all the main mission of the company, which was born with a specific focus. The focus is a completely different approach. Also 6 years ago, it was quite new, to the market, meaning not to go on the market and pretend to make energy efficiency, just let's say changing technology we find on the field, meaning buy new generators, buy new heaters, or new heat pumps, rooftops, or any kind of system related to HVAC, so heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. The brain approach is completely radically different, and basically is focused on retrofit. It means go on the market and face whatever you find on the market, from I don't know, 200 buildings, 200 years buildings, to really modern buildings with a modern building management system. Just 2 days ago, we were in the most modern building realized in Rome during the last 5 years. And we face daily challenge, each time different, due to this kind of capability. And by my point of view, personally, is the really interesting part of the technology of the job. I mean, the capacity to face whatever you find on the market, from an historical theater to an airport, to a public school, to an hospital, for instance, etc., etc. This is a really basic scheme of how works our technology. Basically, is an IoT, as I say, platform, meaning 3 layers, sensors layers, which transmit through specific infrastructure, meaning particularly Sigfox and LoRaWAN, all the data harvested on the field to the cloud. On the cloud, there's our artificial intelligence algorithm, which basically meant two main things. First of all, learn how the building works, the complex system building works, meaning not only the sides, not only the orientation, the position, but also how people use the building, because obviously it's different a school from an airport, and the same school is different Monday morning from Thursday morning, for instance. And all this learning is completely automated by the algorithm, and the solution produced by the algorithm are basically regulation commands, which are sent back on the field. And that's really peculiar of a brain, because for instance, many competitors have no this kind of capabilities. Many competitors stop to the moment of the the analysis or the monitoring, for instance. Instead, the brain is able to send back command on field to each available object, meaning, as I said, any part of generation system, distribution system, and irrigation system. So we are able to work on a conventional building, as I said, with the heaters and a water heating system or a full air system in an airport. The results are massive, because also really well-regulated buildings, due to the capabilities of the algorithm, can face 30% sometimes of savings, which is not only a relevant thing in terms of energy bill, but also in terms of CO2 emissions. We made a really interesting project together with Irene here in Turin. Is in the slide, I guess 2 slides from here, and it's been particularly interesting. Yes, is this. Because as you can see, 90 buildings, 89 buildings installed in system has been installed in 4 weeks. Not a single minute of downtime of stop of the machine, nothing. Also because it was February, and we're talking about heating system, public schools, in public offices. And despite all these constraints, we've been able to get installed the system, and after 1 week, something like, we immediately saw the difference in terms of regulation. The users found immediately a better comfort, meaning in the Monday morning there weren't any more calls about complaining for the cold school or cold public offices, and here face an important saving from this new kind of regulation. And the most let's say from a social point of view relevant thing for sure is the CO2 emission reduction, which basically was the same that Turin just doubled his own portfolio trees in the city. And Turin is probably, from my knowledge, is the greener city in Italy. So it's been quite important, because when we talk about climate change and real action, we got this kind of result only on 19 buildings. So just think about how many public buildings, also considering only public administration, we have in a city like Turin, or in any other city all over the country, all over Europe. So that's the kind, and that's particularly important. Those buildings were absolutely conventional, no building management system at all. Some buildings really old, some buildings newer, let's say. Any kind of possible technology. In some occasion, we didn't have even a blueprint of the plant we were going to find, and so it's been quite a huge achievement for our technology, also in terms of flexibility. Because as we see, this kind of approach allows to find solutions where actually engineers, designers, and asset managers simply don't think could be possible. And that's our, our best driver in terms of value proposition. And now the challenge, the big challenge, on one end is to keep doing our what we call core business, which is perfectly wrapped up by this use case. And this is the next step. The next step is to develop the capability to orchestrate at the same time, close to real time, not only one single building, so not only a dynamic optimization of the HVAC or one single building, but put in relation any kind of energy consumption, above all electricity, also because hopefully we are going to see in the next year an electrification of heating system, also in residential, also in public administration, as in private business we already saw during last years, because it would be crucial for CO2 emission reduction. And so we are working, as I said, we have not the product we are working on, but we are quite close, honestly, to orchestrate different buildings, different objects in the same network, optimizing the same target, which is obviously for sure comfort. You cannot make energy efficiency putting people in cold or in overheating, and also reducing CO2 emission through the reduction of energy consumption. There are a lot of strategy, a lot of schemes to do that. There's a huge talk in these weeks about demand response in terms of electricity, flexibility on the electricity market. There's a huge talk about energy communities also. And in our opinion, all these topics are going to converge, and the driver is basically digital technology, because otherwise there's no really way to allow that, to enable that. This is our technological horizon this moment, our challenge, and we hope to back to you as soon as possible with some real use case. We are working for that. Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic. I only finished to scroll it. Okay. So, thank you very much. You can stay perfectly in time. Looking to the side. Yes. Okay. Now, I will be happy to introduce the second speaker of today, which is Dr. Gianpaolo Orlando, which is the technical manager at Dreamet SRL, which is a small medium enterprise in innovative building, working on innovative building surfaces, developing including innovative and unique products like eco-friendly metal surfaces for building, which is also a very interesting topic in the building sector itself, for sustainable and renewable. So I think that perfect, you're ready to speak. So Emil, to give you the word. Thank you.
So thank you everybody for being there. My name is Gianpaolo Orlando. I'm a engineer specialized in metals. So all my work brings over metal surfaces, and in particular, it's about developing new surface treatments, all dedicated to ecology, to sustainability. So today I will present you this innovative company, this SMA called Dreamet. It's an innovative startup. Dreamet is about unique and innovative metal surfaces for architecture, buildings, interior design, and even objects. So the treatments proposed by Dreamet can go through big surfaces like building facades. We're talking about thousands and thousands of square meters, to very small objects like glasses. About Dreamet, I would like to make you an introduction about the metal application through history. We know, everyone knows that a lot of the ages have been named with the names of metals, the Iron Age, Copper Age, Bronze, and so on. So we can say metal has been one of the most important materials in the history of humanity. And here you see some recent application of metal in architecture, mainly. So the Liberty Statue, the Atomium, the Tour Eiffel, some historical applications. Here are some metal applications in architecture, in contemporary architecture applications. So here we have the concert hall, the Walt Disney Concert Hall, which is all covered by stainless steel plates. Someone says it's titanium. In fact, it's definitely stainless steel. And on the right image, there is the Geox building in Milano. This building has been done by an Italian architecture, Benini, and it's all made by electro-colored stainless steel plates, which opens and closes as well as a tree. Traditional methods for metal treatment. Well, this is the history. So usually you can use burnishing, etching, acid etching, and other flaming, burning. So those are all traditional methods to modify the surface aspect of the metal. But we have some bad compounds bounded to these procedures. First of all, the use of acids and other dangerous compounds like heavy metals, chromium-6, and so on. The high environmental and energy cost. I think about galvanic treatments. We're talking about thousands or hundreds of amperes during the process, and of course disposal cost. Another technology very well known to create decorative applications on metal surfaces, it's the punching, the mechanical procedure, but we have some, of course, limits. It's a very interesting technology, a very controlled technology, but of course you have a limit on the detail of the image. So on big building facade this could not be a problem, but for interior design or other applications with a very high request of detail of the image or of the finish, it's not suitable. Of course, it's not suitable in case of the need of a continuous surface, so not hold one. And of course, it's process made by big punching machines, so you have an energy cost and a processing waste. What we do as DreamIt is totally innovative. We modify, I will show you also the experimental results coming from more than 10 years of R&D in cooperation with the major universities here in Italy. And this is an example of a building covered with DreamIt metal surfaces. See, there is a tree decoration. So let me introduce you this innovative startup, which is called DreamIt. This is our dream becoming true through the metal, and also the customer DreamIt coming through to the metals. We are an innovative startup. We have all the three requirements from the Italian law for being an innovative high technological startup. And we have three fundamental pillars, which are innovation, tradition, and ecology. We're looking very much for ecological processes. We do not use acids at all. We do not use high consumption of energy at all. And everything which is produced here in DreamIt is totally controlled, and practically we have zero waste. So this is our policy. The application I already told you, we go through architecture to building facades and interior design, floors, even floors and coverings, up to restoration and heritage. We also cooperated for the restoration of a very ancient cathedral in the Middle Europe, a Romanic cathedral, which was a UNESCO heritage building. Here, some applications, because of course, as usual, images talk better than 100 words. And this is a project made on stainless steel metal mesh, so we do not treat only flat surfaces, but also metal meshes, as this one. This is a company. It's the external saving exit of a company near Torino. And all this drawing on it, this Woods and Move project, drawing the picture of this application. Of course, this application can go on vented facades system, and this is very interesting because in this application we are developing an idea of the Politecnico di Torino, which I thank you very much for this cooperation, which I will show you an image later. This is a real module of vented facade made by our technology. This is again stainless steel because, of course, if you go on external applications, you have to choose metals which are already suitable for external. In this case, there is a custom cloudy veins decoration. As you can see, you can recognize this is not an acid etching or some other known technology. In fact, as you maybe can see from this image, everything here is flat. So you see an image on the metal, which can be a metallic image or a very defined picture. But if you touch it, unfortunately, you cannot touch, but if you would touch, it would be totally smooth, so you don't feel anything, any etching, any mechanical scratching on it. Again, here you can appreciate the continuity, because we can control everything we do on the metal exactly as it would be a printing, let me say. So you have a continuity in the drawing, which can allow us to create very big designs on the building facades. This is the image of an innovative system that we are developing in cooperation with the Polytechnic of Torino, which I thank you again. And here the idea is to bound the Dreamer technology on this facade modules to allow the watcher to see something nice from the ground. Meanwhile, the wall is producing energy. Again, here is a realization on a building. This is the Nokia building, the telephone and communication company in a city near Milano, between Monza and Milano. Again, another application of this continuous decoration on building facade. Here I would like to show you even some images, some fast images of applications in interior design. These are some tables created with our metal surfaces, and again, walls, coverings, applications in bars, in restaurants, also because all of this technology, decorative technology, in the beginning was born from material engineering. So we know everything about the metal surfaces. I will show you soon. To close, this is an application of heritage restoration. This is a private villa in an island, in a small island near Sicily. And here there was the necessity to use a particular finishing, which was like the Corten steel, but all this work will be done with our innovative Cortenox steel, which is a stainless steel, which looks like Corten steel. So as I was talking before, all of these finishings come from the material engineering. So before going on the market, everything has been tested for high corrosion resistance, compatibility from food to pharma to oil and gas applications, and even a good scratch resistance. So our metals become even better after our treatment. There are some applications: titanium, copper, brass, aluminum, and so on. So going to the scientific part, which is also very, very interesting and important for us. Mainly, we test all our surfaces to corrosion resistance through polarization tests in chlorine 3.5%, in H2SO4 normal, which is granted by the SATM G594 norm, and also free corrosion resistance with a periodic check of color, because what we guarantee, of course, going on external and building facade applications, is that what we do is almost 20 years guaranteed in the fact we can guarantee it for eternity, as long as they last the metals, so as long we last our decoration. The polarization curves has been realized using a flat cell system. So it's a 3 electrodes system made by a reference electrode, which is agreed which is an AgCl in KCl saturated system. Agreed of platinum as counter electrode, and the working sample as second electrode. All of these curves, what can be seen is that mainly there is always a behavior, especially in chlorine, of the decorated metal. So from all our tests, we can conclude that what we do makes the metal even much more resistant near the sea, in chlorine environment, and even in acid environment, as you can see here from the curves in sulfuric acid. After that, mainly on stainless steel, we did an observation of what we create exactly inside of the metal surface. So we had an inspection with the AFAM, the atomic force microscopy, with the magnetic kit, and we saw that the oxide that we go to create is something that is very similar to the magnetite. So it's a modification of the original magnetite, but with the insertion of other compounds inside of this crystal of the stainless steel. Okay, here is again what I was just saying, that we made this Raman spectroscopy to see exactly what we were creating. Last, we checked the color, because of course, as I was saying before, we have to guarantee that our metals don't change during all the life of the building facade, of the floor, of the coverings that we going to do. And from our checks during all these experiments in climatic chamber, and I can say now after several years also in reality, so in all the applications that we did, I can guarantee, and we can guarantee from these experiments, that there is no changes in the appearance of the color, even in external applications, even in applications near the seaside or on the seashore. A last picture, very nice, from the Nokia building in Milano, to show you this the possibility of this application, and hopefully we will soon see the real applications of also of the technology that we are developing together with Politecnico of Torino. So thank you everybody. If someone wants to come to visit us, we are in Modena, mainly known for Ferrari, Maserati, and so on, supercars. So you're welcome here, and thank you everybody again.
Thank you very much. Now I want to introduce the third speaker of this webinar, which is Engineer Francesco Tondolo, Department of Structural and Geotechnical Building Engineer at Politecnico of Turin, which is the CEO and founder of Control Tech, that upgrading a patent and developing smart structure monitoring is moving towards spin-off, thanks to proof of concept business funds, and it will perfectly present this interesting and innovative aspect, very connected to also, you can say, present issues on the building sector.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. My name is Francesco Tondolo, and I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Structural, Geotechnical and Building Engineering at Politecnico di Torino. Today, I would like to talk you about my experience in technology transfer in the field of structural monitoring of reinforced concrete structures. The first thing I would like to say is that everything started since I was focusing of one of my field of research. There was bond between steel and concrete. In the picture, in the top left, you can see a block of concrete and in between a steel bar. And I was studying the bond, the friction between the two materials when I perform a pull-out test. In that kind of test, it is very important to know the value of strains in steel bars. I was working also on a paper of 1951 to design the best test for bond. In this paper, electrical strain gauges were glued into an internal groove of a reinforcing steel bar, and I was literally fascinated by this technology. Recently, in 2014, fiber optics were positioned in the longitudinal rib to measure the strains in steel in other kind of bond tests. And again, was still the way to understand what happens in a reinforced concrete structure. But few years ago, later, again, the same technology was used for an experimental campaign. The same experimental technology where the electrical strain gauge again were glued into the steel bars. So the experience says that there was no way of reading strains better than this technology. So working with steel was good. That was my research. Furthermore, I was involved into a large research project to develop sensors able to read stress and strain in concrete for monitoring of concrete structures. Monitoring pushed as a urgent need for structural and infrastructural field. But there were a lot of issues with concrete. It is not homogeneous, as you can see from the picture on the right, and a large portion should be selected to obtain a reliable, that is to say, average value for strain and stress, or a large number of devices, namely sensors, should be placed in one location to have the average of their value. Rheological effects make readings even more difficult and uncertain, and the specificity to have eventually small innovative sensor is definitely not used. Furthermore, concrete has a negligible tensile strength. Cracking due to close to a sensor can give no readings in tensile strain field. Indeed, it was hard to act against strain and stress field in concrete of the order of megapascal. Therefore, the question was, why not steel? Well, steel has a lot of advantages, and these advantages are listed here. Among the others advantages, I would like to mention the uniform mechanical characteristics of the steel and the easiness of placing into a reinforced concrete manufacture. But an innovative way to work with steel was still needed. This is why I would like to introduce the theoretical basis of the invention. That is, can be explained thinking about a bubble of air. A bubble of air captured into the steel bar under uniaxial stress. This uniaxial stress and strain field modifies the value of this bubble. Therefore, if it is possible to measure temperature and pressure in this bubble, it is possible to reach the volume variation and therefore the strain into the element. The most important aspect is that is visible at the bottom of this slide, but is that we measure Pascal, so barometric pressures, and we obtain the effect of a strain into solids like steel of the level of megapascal, so therefore 1 million more in terms of stress. Therefore, the specific, in this slide, the specific and the drawings of the patent are reported. They explain how to build a system to catch axial deformation in ordinary reinforcing bar for concrete. This is crucial. It's not a new element, but it is the common element, current element used in a construction field that is modified to catch the strains. It is important in this element to build a sealed cavity and put inside a barometric pressure sensor. We started using a very low-cost sensor for consumer market. The patent was filed in Italy and then extended through PCT, and it is on its way to be granted in USA and Europe. But the path was not so easy. The first revision from EPO office gave reference to 3 other patents. I have to say, chameleon included, but after discussions at the end with minor changes on the text and a lot of explanations, the claims were accepted. So in the meanwhile, activities on research side took place with a lot of prototypes built to test the system at its sensitivity. from reinforcing bar with diameter 40 millimeters that gave more space for electronics, you can see in the first picture on the left, to reinforcing bar with diameter 20, with the good miniaturization of the system, and also it was with this dimension ready to be used in all construction sectors. Finally, to a concrete beam, to the test in a concrete beam that set up the technology readiness level to the value of 4. That is a good, very good level. In this slide, you can see the good experimental results that testify the use and the effectiveness of the system, and gave responses to the assumption, to the theoretical assumption, and pushed to move forward. In the graph at the bottom right, you can see the comparison between what it was estimated by the sensor and the applied load to the testing machine in the laboratory in a uniaxial test with compression and tension. In this slide, you can see the comparison between the present technology and the traditional electrical strain gauge that work together in the same position of the rebar into the concrete beam. Good results. Therefore, together with the research group, we started to study all possible applications of this technology, also in the professional field, not only for research, and we discovered multiple applications of this device for monitoring. We discovered the problem of the current structural health monitoring. The problem is related to the fact that the monitoring for structures and infrastructure is expensive, not always reliable, but at the same time is increasingly requested. The recent events on structures demonstrate how it is more and more important for every phase of service life of the structure, starting from construction. Despite a large number of collapses recently registered, I've decided to put a picture with a case of a collapsed structure, the Fossano Viaduct, without death. Indeed, it is not so easy for civil engineering structure to do not have loss of life when a collapse takes place. So, traditional devices monitoring strain in reinforced concrete structure are expensive and not so easy to be installed, and therefore a small number of devices is generally used for monitoring. With the solution developed at Politecnico, the monitoring system is cheap, simple, and fast to be used, protected and ready to be installed on new structures or on existing structure during repairing works. The solution is pervasive because it is possible to have a large number of sensors in every position you need, and also because of their small cost. The reinforcing bar are the way to connect the sensor among them. Among the other aspects, even sustainability of civil engineering assets is improved under the efficient control with this system. It is possible to save material and money and increase the safety along all the service life of the structure. The technology and the studies of the context bring to the winning of prizes with a total amount of 100,000 euros of points. There were 2 calls for proof of concept calls. Then I would like to show you some applications developed during the first proof of concept with a foundation pile in a geotechnical structure, and the first results are very promising. A large number of sensors has been used for a perfect control of the structural condition. Here you can see the placing of the steel bar cage with the red rebars showing the application that we define Smart Steel System Torino. Another application under study is focused on precast beams. The system is flexible and represents a new paradigm for structural monitoring of civil structures. There is a large request in all construction sectors, from bridge to tunnels, from buildings to precast elements. All these activities have been collected in a business plan, obviously. And the business plan contains all information about exploitation of the patent within a context of a startup, with the market analysis, industrial analysis, marketing and organization plan, and finally the implementation and financial plan. The approval at different levels of the business plan bring to the approval as a spin-off of Politecnico di Torino. Therefore, I can move to the team that is here presented. The founding team of the control track is here reported. A lean approach and effective attitude to problem solving are the main characteristics of these three. I'm the CEO of the spin-off. And what's next? Well, we don't know exactly, but we are in a second proof of concept project. We are very happy. We are in progress. We gather a lot of interest from customers that we registered. We have the eye of that on this technology. And the system has already been used to apply for calls in a construction sector for in a submitted project. And we're looking for some fundraising, but probably in the meanwhile, the best thing to say now is that we would like to thank our personal and institutional supporters, and obviously thank you all for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very interesting, coming from the architectural sector. Listen to this. Now I would be very happy to give the presenter role to Dr. Enrico Pochettino, which is the head of the innovation department at IREN Group. He currently coordinates the IREN Group's innovation projects and leads the corporate venture capital IREN Hub program, which is a very interesting approach toward innovation in the sector. So I don't want to keep more time, so please.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So thanks. I've been asked to talk you about, let me say, the approach of IREN to the innovation ecosystem, but not only, let me say, to present IREN as a potential partner, but maybe also to give you an example on of how big companies can be organized in terms of relation with innovators. No, talking about tech transfer is very important for the people that are developing technologies to know how to relate to big companies that can be customer, can be partner, can be shareholders, and so on. So just a few words. IREN is a multi-utility company. It's based in northwest of Italy. I don't know, many of you could know already what IREN is. What is important for me in this presentation, just to explain that we cover several businesses that are all under the public utility environment, but are very, very different one each other, because we go from the production of electricity, but let me say producing electricity through a thermal power plant is completely different from producing from photovoltaic or hydroelectric. We operate in the district network. We are an operator in gas distribution, the water business, in the environmental business, and also in the energy efficiency. That is, I think, is the core of this this panel today. Just a few numbers in terms of dimension. We are listed in the stock exchange. In some of the sector I was saying before, we are leader, like in district heating in Italy. In the other, we are among the first three operators. What are we are facing now as a multi-utility company? in some way we can really benefit from what is the, let me say, the Green Deal environment that we are living. We are several sectors, almost all the sectors that are impacted by the new objective of the European Union, but let me say more or less all over the world. So we can really put together different technology, maybe developed or used in one sector in order to help the other sector and trying to do something very interesting across the different sector. Just to give you an example, for example, for the gas, the gas as it was an input, of course, of our thermoelectric plants or boilers. We used to distribute. We are a distributor of methane, but let me say now we are also a producer of biomethane. So the competence that we develop in one sector can be used for another sector. And let me say that we are producing biomethane from two sectors that weren't really affected by any issue related to gas. No, one was the waste sector, so we produce biomethane from organic fraction of urban waste, but also we can produce biomethane by the treatment plant of the water business. No? So talking about innovation really is very important to try to organize, let me say, the activity and try to understand in which specific technology or trend we have to invest in the next future. So looking far, we have to organize the present and the next year, the next 2 years, because of course budgets are limited, and the more you look far, the more the picture is not clear. No, so it's very important to try to make this picture more clear and then organize the activity. So, for example, we used to develop internally an innovation plan that looks at the trend that are the trend of the single business, but only from other business can eventually impact on our business. And then we identify the innovation needs. Also, it sounds like measuring the gap between the current know-how and current activities already done inside the company compared to what we will be asked to do in the future. And then we plan how to close this gap. So we can use several tools like technology scouting, research contracts. We can make POC, pilots, partnership, and we see also we can collaborate with startups or using other tools. What is very important, of course, is to identify the trends, and try really to make a picture that is more clear. Just to give you a synthetic example of some trends of our business. Of course, what is common to all the business right now is the digitalization process and tools that are cross among all the businesses. So it's very important, of course, to try to import new digital technology and having them the more cross sector we can, in order to minimize the cost of development, and also to facilitate also the management day by day of the business. So talking about tools, we are quite used to participate to co-finance projects like Horizon 2020 and the next Horizon Europe. By the way, we are the first multi-utility in Italy by considering the number of Horizon 2020 projects that we are managing. we also invest, let's say, internal money, our budget for direct activities, like I was saying, technology scouting, research, and POC. And then we launched 3 years ago a corporate venture capital project that I will explain you a little bit more later. Just this is an overview of the Horizon 2020 project that we are managing right now. It's impossible, I have no time to explain you the main topics, but let me say they are quite spread among all the business that we have. The Horizon 2020 project or the Horizon Europe are very important for us because not only for the development of the technology, of the product, the services inside the project, but let me say more for the relationship, the partnership that we can have with research institutions, developer of technology. And so we are more interested, really, more than the money, we are more interested in cooperating with other institutions or companies, because from let me say, something like having being obliged to sit at the same table, for sometimes several years is very important to really understand very well the technology, understand the potentiality, and really link with the other entities in order to develop something also at the end of the project. And of course, we have direct contact also with university. We have some general framework, and from this general framework we let me say negotiate every year during the year research project or other kind of support from the university. Most of them comes from our territory, and of course the international university we cooperate comes more from the Horizon 2020 project. But it's very important to have a strong link with the university, and let me say Polytechnic of Torino right now is the main university that cooperate with us in terms of new development. Just to give you some additional information about the corporate venture capital program, I think it's important to give you the possibility to understand how, let me say, almost big company is organized in terms of relation with startups. Before us, let me say, three startups in different growth phase presented their product, their view, and all of them need, all the staff need to understand how to relate with a big company. The corporate venture capital program, we call it program and not the fund, because we have decided to make direct investment, so are the single business company of the group that invests directly in the startup. Was born because really we understood that a startup cannot be, we cannot deal with a startup only with the traditional methods of, I don't know, the purchasing process that we have with bigger companies. Now the startups is is too small, too short CV and references to be a formal real supplier of a group. But at the same time, we still have the big need to relate with startups in order to co-develop a solution, to test the solution, and to import them very fast. And let me say another big objective of the corporate venture capital program that we are managing is to speed up the internalization of innovation and the speed up of developing new knowledge inside the company. So only with an open innovation approach and only with a strong relation, not only with research university, research center, but only also with startups, is possible to increase the know-how of our technicians and keep all the company always on the edge, of the technology. So of course, startups are very different from the idea to the bigger startup, the maturity of a company. We are more focused on the seed, let me say, post-seed phase of the startup to the early stage, the second stage of development. So we usually we do not invest in, let me say, something that is a little bit more than an idea. We start a relation with startup when there is something, some IP already inside the startup, when there is at least 2-3 years of development. But compared, for example, with other funds, we also are interested in investing in seed startup. Many funds decide to invest only in scale up. We can follow the startup also from the beginning. One of the examples, for example, Enerbrand, that was the first talking at this panel, was in touch with Iren, and we start with some POC and let me say also co-development, because they change the platform also according to the first big client need. Since 2017, when we enter also the capital, and now we are negotiating some other deals. So if the startup is a seed startup, we always usually offer an investment between 100 to 200,000 euro, but there is a range that is not strict. It depends on the single situation and also the sector in which the startup is investing. And for the bigger startup, for the rollout of the scale-up startups, the investment ticket is between 1 to 2 million euro. What is important, that is a corporate venture capital program. So the focus is not only on financing the startup, but the focus is to build with startup an industrial relation. This industrial relation, as we invest in minority stake, is not in terms of exclusivity. We never ask the startup to work only with us. They are free, but let me say, we are incentivized to work also with our competitor, because we want the startup grow up, and we think that we can gain from the growing of the startup with our competitors. Let me say, just being arriving before our competitors. So that's the bet we do. Just closing the presentation, two additional things that I think is quite important for the potential startup that could be interested in our program. Of course, we try to invest in something that is close to our business, and at the same time, it's clear that it's impossible to find startups completely in our core business. Never a startup will become a multi-utility, just to be clear. But we want to invest in the surround of our core business, so what is called our ecosystem. So technology that help us to solve some problem, but also we can invest in some indirect markets that are not our core business right now, but we think that potentially they can be a new market in which we can enter in. ending my presentation just to show you what we try to in our investment process, screening a startup, what we look of a startup. Sorry, I try to. Okay. I cannot see part of the graph because I have a go-to webinar on the slide. But in any case, there are, let me say, 4 areas that we investigate are very important to make let us to take a decision in terms of cooperation and investment. It depends. So we look at of course, the market opportunity and the competitive landscape of the startup. But we look, maybe it's the first thing that we need if we invest in a startup. We look at the team, the team in terms of CV of the team, in terms of relationship of the team, also the attitude of the team to deal with investor. So that is something that, in my opinion, the Italian startup lack a little bit, because we find many very strong technicians, but not a lot of people able to make business and to relate to the ecosystem of the VC, the investor, the venture capital operator. Of course, if we invest with a minority stake, for us it's important also to have a potential exit from a startup. And so if the team is not able to a relation with the potential new investor and new buyer of the company, is very critical for us. And then we look at the feasibility of the project in terms of product, in terms of market strategy to enter a market, economics. And then there is another part that is typical to the need of the venture capital investor, that is the funding plan, the scalability, the return on investment strategy, and the year-end business fit. As I was saying, we want to invest in something that could be useful for our development. So I will end up my presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. It's also very interesting topic, essential for the speed up of innovations. Now I will present, last but not least, Dr. Francesco De Michelis, which is a strategic advisor of Progress Tech Transfer, venture capital fund that support the development of technologies from Italian research institution toward open to the market. That's also a very interesting topic. Yes, please.
Yeah. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So thanks for having me today, and thanks for giving me the opportunity to present to everybody our venture capital fund and one of our portfolio company. So give me a sec. So today we'll present you Progress Tech Transfer. Progress Tech Transfer is the first and only investment-focused initiative in tech transfer for sustainability in Italy. We have an unparalleled personal relationship with most of the Italian technology transfer organization, and we are intimate with the innovation hotspot in Italy. And we are also ourselves, we are founders, because the Mito Technology, which is the advisory company of Progress Tech Transfer, was and still is partially a startup, and it was a company which myself and my co-founders founded in 2009, which the main focus was to provide IP, intellectual property, and technology transfer services to Italian public research organization and to startups. As I mentioned before, we are a tech transfer fund, so we invest both in proof of concept projects, which means that we can invest in technologies which are not yet incorporated in a startup or a spin-off, and we also can invest, of course, in startups already established, focusing also in the early stage phases of the company. We are 100% focused on technologies for sustainability, because we believe this is the only investment thesis which makes sense today. We have a huge respect for the time it takes for a company to grow, so we provide what we call patient capital, so we can wait for the company to grow and to start making revenue. We have also, from one side, we have a strong relation, as I mentioned before, with the Italian universities and the Italian Public Research Organization, but we have also access to many large corporate which are seeking out to cooperate with our portfolio company for innovative solutions to improve their sustainability footprint. What we mean for sustainability, because as you know, sustainability is a buzzword today, and we mainly focus in 3 areas of sustainability. The first one is food and agrotech. The second one relates to materials and processes, so purification, sustainable materials and chemicals, waste management, bioremediation, green chemistry, bioplastic, and so on. And third, but I believe it's one of the most important area of focus for our fund, are energy, water, and other natural resources. The team is composed by 6 fully independent professionals, 5 senior people, and we have very different background, and in this way we can provide to the fund all the different skills that are necessary to run a successful technology transfer venture capital fund. So we have experts in intellectual property strategy and in tech transfer. We have experts in venture capital and private equity, and also in dealing with corporates. How we support our inventors and our founders? We provided to each team or each company in which we invest a champion, so one member of the team which is dedicated to, as a board member, as a coach to that particular investment. Due to the skill of the team, we can also provide a IP strategy and legal services. We can provide a large network of industrial players. We also provide systematic access to non-equity finance, as an example, the international and the Italian grants. We have also an international network of relation with also international investors, with the banks, of course, and we also have a pool. We have selected a pool of high-profile senior managers, which we call executive in residence, because since most of the initiatives in which we invest are at least in the first stages composed by researchers, we strongly believe it is important to match the researchers with someone which has a strong experience in our corporate and a company should operate. As I mentioned before, we work with at least 30 technology transfer offices in Italy, because due to the previous experience of Mito Technology as a technology transfer company, I would say that we have a personal connection with most of the people that work in the technology transfer office around Italy. The fund started in 2019 So now we are in the second half of the third year of the investment period of the fund. Since today, we have already invested in the 12 companies or proof of concept projects. All of these investments are somehow related and linked with the Italian public research, because the mandate that we received from our main investor, which are the European Investment Fund and the Cassa Depositi e Prestiti, was to enhance the possibility of technologies developed inside the Italian university to reach the market. So, for example, Waterview, which is the first investment of the fund, is a spin-off company of the Polytechnic of Torino, and all the companies here represented are somehow, as I mentioned before, linked to an Italian university or public research organization. Here you can see which is the origination of each company. So we go through from Torino, as I said before, to the Istituto Italiano di Tecnologia, the University of Padova, the Polytechnic of Milan, of course, since we are based in Milan, the University of Trento, but we have also invested in initiative founded in the south of Italy, as HTMS, for example, which is linked to the University of Salento. One of our last proof of concept project, which we call Membrane, because we have developed some specific membrane for an industrial application. This technology has been developed in the University of Unicali, the University of Calabria, with the collaboration of the local National Research Council. And also, since, as I said before, we are fully committed to invest in technologies for sustainability, we match each of our investment to one of the sustainable development goals identified by the United Nations. Okay. Since today we are talking about technology for buildings and for architecture, I would like to spend the last minutes of my today presentation speaking about one of our 2021 investment, which is MOGU, and we have an academic connection with the University of Pavia because we are based here in Lombardy, and they have developed a technology that has different application, and one of these applications is in the interior design and in the architecture, because their technology is based in what is called the mycelium, which is the vegetative state of the mushrooms, okay? And through the liquid fermentation of this mycelium, they can produce some specific biomaterials, which are materials 100% sustainable, which can be which are already applied to the interior design, because they can produce acoustic wall panels and flooring tiles. But we are also producing replacement to animal leather. So here you can see some of their products. This is one of the example of the materials they developed through the fermentation of the mycelium with the other residual of industrial processes. This is one example of their acoustic panels. This is one example of their MOGU floor, this was also developed through a grant of the European Commission with an SME instrument. This is the 100% bio-sustainable leather they produce, and they are also approaching companies that works in the high-end luxury market that produce leather goods, because as you can understand, and probably you already know, that kind of companies are very interested in replacing animal leather with the sustainable leather. So they are looking for opportunities to, and MOGU is in the right track to provide this material also to companies which produce very expensive leather goods. But the next frontier for Mogu is also in the food world, because they through their technology they are also developing new products for food ingredients. Okay, so this was my presentation. So for each of you which has developed a technology which has some kind of application in one of the areas that I mentioned before, which should be somehow connected to sustainability, these are our contacts. So you can reach us through our website, where you can see all our investment and all our portfolio companies. You can follow us on LinkedIn or in LinkedIn, so you can in this way you can stay in contact with us. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Now I think we have some time remaining for question and answer, hoping that a special participant would be interested to ask their questions one specific presenter of today, or more general question, hoping that someone who can ask me answer to you. So I think you have the possibility to pose questions directly, sort of chat or the voter spaces. I will read it, and clearly the specific related, I think we'll be very, very happy to answer you. So while we are waiting for participant question, hoping that it will arrive, been at least for me the meeting very, very interesting. This presentation, different aspect connected to the development of research, from patent research, patent development, spin-off companies, startup, till the creation of small, medium enterprises, and further integration with large companies and foundings. I potentially have a question I want to start with, if you agree with Tondolo, that I think we may have a question for him more connected to the passages. What can force a researcher, professor to start a spin-off company connected to a university environment? And which are the first difficulties, the challenges, we can say, that you must consider to be faced? I think the potential is Francesco Tondolo that would be the best addresser for this issue.
Sorry, this was a question for who?
I think is for Francesco Tondolo, Professor Tondolo, because I think is perfectly represent this sort of first steps, if we want to say,
yeah, sure,
in between research institution and spin-off, so startup in a way. Or if you want, in any case, it's open, I think.
Oh, sorry, I'm here.
Okay.
There's a question.
Yes, the first aspect is something who forced a researcher, professor, someone connected to the academic world to start developing a spin-off company connected to university environment, and what could be the first challenges, difficulties that must be faced in this, must be expected to be faced now, because
well, the first problem is of the dark side of the moon. What I mean is that normally we are focused on the technical aspects, so we continuously work on that night and day. But it is important to have a global view of the other aspects. For example, the aspect related to the customer development, to the pivoting of the technology, phasing with the potential customer, and again, what I'm saying, focusing on what the technology, how the technology could be really helpful in making a goal in the market, in a real market, and not inside of the laboratory or among other technicians or other academics around the world. Because a lot of people said me that it was fantastic, but the technology at the beginning needed some step to receive the same applause from also a professional from outside Polytechnic, making some changes. In some case, making the technology easier just to be understood from the others in terms of way to work. But in my point of view, what is the best thing is to, as normally is suggested here at Polytechnico, to go out of the building. This is the first step.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Okay, we have a question by Oliver Rutnen. We ask, hello, are all presented projects just for companies or governments with big budget, or it is also usable for private customer sector? I think this is potentially general for all.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. Hello. Are all presented projects of today just for companies or governments? So the idea is, are these mainly addressed in terms of idea to big budget, or it is also usable by private customer sector?
So should I start with my answer? As
Yes.
DreamIt, we can say that we work mainly with privates because, of course, if we're talking about buildings or heritage monuments, of course, it's a state issue. But we have a lot of privates coming to us, to our showroom, or for requesting for our products, which can be even a boiserie for a private home or even one table. So we're talking about 1 square meter. So it depends from the customer. Our customers are buying wall buildings or constructing with their own money all the building, as well as coming for just a small design object. So from our side, we can go from the private customer, medium, high budget, let's say, to big corporations, to state and heritage applications. So thank you for the question.
Okay.
I think the question is not for Iran, and we haven't presented project. Okay.
Yes.
If I can try to answer for our side, basically our technology is not only related to big project, actually. As I say, flexibility of this kind of technology and of the specific approach allows to take cover a really different market, from retail market to not retail market, I mean not consumer actually, but small medium enterprises for sure. Small local public administration, absolutely yes. And on the other hand, basically also European project or huge scale projects. So yes, absolutely. So it's quite open. Obviously, it's not an approach one size fits all. It depends on the specific project, and having a tailored approach, we are able to fix any kind of issue inside this wide range.
Yes. I have a question for Ian, since we are waiting for us. In the vision of a large company, which could be how to deal with the transition innovative challenges toward the development and implementation of sustainable solution in the building sector. So which can potentially maybe, in your point of view, more interesting aspect to be faced? Because you work on grid, you also work on the integration of solution, sustainable, especially sustainable solution in the building sector.
Yeah, let me say, okay, I think that the answer will be big, and I'm not so, let me say, prepared to cover all the aspects. But let me say that there are some aspects that for sure can be at the top of the priority, in terms of building. There is one part that is more related to, let me say, the energy management, and was already very well covered by Enerbrain presentation, that goes not only to the management of the heating, cooling system, but also to all the opportunity that come from the demand response and all the new development of the electricity market that will need much every day, every year, a lot of flexibility offered also by, let's say, citizen and buildings. No, okay, it's not something you can look at as an opportunity for the building, but for sure is a need for the network. Okay, so the network needs this modulation, this offer of ancillary services, and so the network will pay for these services. So that comes the opportunity for the building. No? And this is one side for, let me say, for the management, the energy efficiency coming from a better use of energy, or more revenues from ancillary services. Then there is all the, let me say, the hardware, let me say, issue. No, so what we are looking for sure is that is very, let me say, difficult, because is tailored on every single building, the possibility of a full refurbishment of a building. So to make how do you call it, cappotto in
yes,
in English?
External insulation.
Okay, if you put an external insulation right now, is something that you have really to work in the old way. For sure, there are some technology that are under development that could help, for example, to standardize the panels, and also to make the rebuilding more easy. And that of course is a matter of also of materials, and some of these materials for sure will come from renewable materials. So there is a lot of room on this stage. I just add that right now there is a situation that is unique around the world in Italy. The 100% opportunity of financing the building is something that we really is pushing the market. Maybe is not pushing enough for a new technology wave, let me say. We all hope that this pushing will be looked at also from another technical point of view as an opportunity to develop new technology for the period in which the incentive will not be applicable anymore. Okay.
Yes, that's a very big point, not generally. Yes.
We saw something similar to in the photovoltaic sector, no? In which, of course, the technology is still developing very, very fast around the world, but maybe not so much in Italy, no? So we made a lot of investment, a lot of installation, but the industry development started abroad, mainly abroad.
Yes. I have a question for Enerbrain in this sense. Since you have passed, we can say, from a patent, you know, to the generation of a young, innovative, smart, medium enterprise, which are the main, which is the path in a way that you expect to follow? Yes, from the patent to the creation of the young enterprise, so exit in a way the startup period. Which are the main criticalities that you think, which are the main steps that you have followed or that you are looking at that need to be expected?
Oh, that's also the answer could endure until tomorrow morning, probably. And
yes, but there's something like to support, you know, this potential innovation.
I'll try to keep short. Yes, it's a huge, it's a really huge challenge because in the moment you got an MVP or a POC, you basically play a specific championship. Situation get exponentially more complex in the moment you go on the market, because the market brings in, obviously, naturally, and hopefully revenues in a sufficient way, in a sufficient size, but also brings a lot of complexity in terms of daily operations, for instance. And is not an easy thing to arrange and to fix, to kick off, and to develop, because you know, the loop is the typical one. You learn day by day to better run your company, and through this kind of approach, you become better and better to generate revenues and margins and stay on the market, and that's great. Also, and is a priority naturally for investors, which trusted you in the first moment when you got just an MVP, naturally. But as you said, as a modern small medium enterprise focus on technology, you can't stay there and say, okay, we have the product, that's it for the next 20 years. It's absolutely not that kind of game. And the complexity is to try to keep the pace of the market, because you receive daily a lot of simulations, a lot of indications from the market, from the player. Above all, if you develop, as in our case, tailored technologies. So that's honestly, that's a really kind of situation. You work 12 hours per day when it's good. But I'm not complaining about that. I mean, it's also the most fascinating part of the business. Yeah, in my opinion, to keep, I don't know if, let's say, not always work naturally, but the best, perhaps, suggestion, if we could give a suggestion to someone sailing the same waters, is to try to stick to a method. A method meaning try to have a process through which you assess opportunity and assess how to manage them and to develop them in a new product, in a new version of the product, in a new evolution of the service. And that's crucial. That's absolutely crucial. In the first moment, any company obviously behave in a such of opportunistic way. So you run from a big, hopefully, project to another. But the truth is that already in the medium period, you absolutely need a method. In a way, you go on the market, you answer to your prospect, to your customers, and you develop new products, or new versions of your services. And that's absolutely perhaps the key factor, the key success factor for company of this size, naturally.
Yes.
So I tried the short version.
Yeah, thank you very much.
For the sake of everyone.
So, a couple of last questions. I think I have a question related to the interaction between investment and the research and development fields, also in collaboration with potential university and an idea. So this is, I think, that could be from Francesco. Okay, what can help to make an idea developing in a research institution attractive for an investment fund in the way which could be the technical readiness level that is expected at least to be reached before working for founding outside the university. Now there is a lot of potential proof of concept clearly, but in any case we need to arrive to something before submit to it, and which may be the path that an investment fund may suggest to follow to bring a technology, you know, to the market in a way.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So first of all, we do not invest in ideas. Okay, we invest in projects, and from a formal point of view, we cannot invest in technology which has not reached a level of TRL 4. Okay, that means that the idea and the technology should be tested at least at the level of a laboratory. Okay, but what we are finding very interesting is that many Italian universities, and of course also the Polytechnic of Torino, have developed internal proof of concept programs. So what we try to achieve in collaboration with some universities is to identify projects which have been first accelerated, let's say like that, by the internal proof of concept project and resources, and then to put also our resources, which, as I mentioned before, are not only financial resources, but also the networks of the team, the competencies of the team, and so on, and to concentrate also our effort in projects which have already been accelerated by the project carried out by the universities. Okay, and second, what I would like to add is that, as I said during my presentation, we really believe that it's very important that the researchers, we don't want to force anybody to or any researcher to become an entrepreneur or a CEO. Okay, but we also think that it's very important to keep the researchers inside the team at some level. Okay, so we strongly believe in matching the competencies and the background of the researchers with the expert in readiness that we identify. Okay, so it's very important that there is an attitude inside the researchers open to accept support and help from people which were not involved in the project, at least in the very first stage of the project.
Yes, that's very, I think, interesting, at least for us. From the academic work, thank you. So I do not have other questions, so I have a last one for DreamIt in a way, because it's very interesting, this fact that you in a way support, you know, the development and the grading of patents also in partnership with research institution. And this specific point of view, which do you think is the right way to create synergies, what make an invention or something that is connected to such institution and academic interesting for a small medium enterprise that is not so far potentially to some of these aspects? So maintaining research, you can say, background in the team, but also including more connected to the market ones.
Well, what I think is that the main aspect is to create bounds, especially in Italy, between university and working board. because all of our technology was born and growth in cooperation with the materials department, where we still cooperate. We have a lot of engineers, not all engineers coming from the university, all of them very young people, and this is, I guess, the success factor for us, because we still develop, we still go ahead with the research and development. Of course, we have several patents, and also the connection with the Polytechnic of Torino started with this focus. I contacted the professors of the Politecnico, asking if there was an interest to cooperate on thesis, on research and development with students. Then we started talking about our technology, our applications, and their idea, their patent. So I think that that the most important thing in this situation is to communicate between universities and enterprises. Would there be big enterprises like IREN, like the others one that spoke, or a very small and young company like ours? Because we want to grow, we need to grow, and our goal is not only, of course, to make turnover, to make profits, but also to give work and grow the new generations. So go ahead with this idea. And this is also why we choose to stay in Italy, because we had a lot of offers to go abroad by biggest companies, to start together with joint ventures in Switzerland, in Poland, and so on. But we decided to stay in Italy, not only because we have a product which is, of course, a mixture of technology, yes, but also of design. So the Made in Italy is branding that we want to keep, but also because we want to be entrepreneurs in Italy and give new jobs in Italy and stay here, let's say, for a patriotic way of view. So I think that way is the best one. Hope so.
Can I make a question to Gianpaolo? Yes. Yeah, just to make some networking during the call. As Irene, you know that we manage the waste. And one of the waste we manage is plastic, and in particular, we invested in the treatment of what is called plasmix. You know, that is almost 50% of the plastic that cannot be reused as recovered as a material, not properly. You know, we invested in a company, and we are currently using the plasmix for new plastic product, but also for the production of steel. No, okay, steel, and we use the plastic instead of coal for the carbon reduction. I don't know the English terms, agente riducente. You know, sorry, I don't know in English how to say it. Would you be interested in, I don't know, a steel that can be branded as green, or do you have any experience of using your technique on steel with something inside that is not proper carbon from coal? Do you have any experience, or would you be interested in working, you know, to have a line of green steel, let me say, you know, in your products?
Well, thank you. I think that we matched the focus to make networking also, because this is very interesting to me, and I think to all of us to keep in contact after that seminar and go and meet each other. So thank you very much. First of all, yes, I would be very interested, almost from a scientific point of view. So I would like to make some tests. Would it be possible? We didn't, from what I know, had any experience on that kind of additive in steel. I don't know if you're talking about steel, I mean stainless steel or carbon steel only, quindi solo acciaio inox, anche acciaio inox. or also no,
I have to check. Is still made currently only in Austria from a big factory of steel production, and I don't know which kind of steel they produce.
Okay. Anyway, we can work on everything, and we work on everything that is a metal surface. So from very thin things like that, which is a steel mesh, so something really really thin as the foil, like the homopack, to big and thick surfaces for architecture. So I would be honored to check, to try to make some tests on this steel. Also because as DreamIt, as I said in my presentation, we're really focusing on ecology. So what we create, what we say that we create, and it's really true, is pure metal. So what the customer receives is something that can be recycled at the end of its life 100%. So it's pure metal, it will be recyclable in 100 years. So it's something that we are looking very much, and in Italy now this circular economy is very trending, hopefully. So really interested, yes, thank you.
Okay, we get in touch.
Okay. We do not have received other questions, so if you have other share in between us questions, would be very welcome. In any case, otherwise we can. Thanks again, TechShare Day for Hostels, the organizer Netball, Ufficio Brevetti Marchi, and clearly Polytechnic of Turin and the Trinaria Technology Transfer Industrial Liaison Department for the organization of the event. All the participants, and especially all the relator that come here and present the vision and elements from these different aspects, but very connected to the passages, the technology innovation that may bring together different sectors of research to companies and the market itself. So I really thank you all for being there. For me, it was very interesting. I hope for all, and hoping to see you all in next events or moments.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Keep in touch.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.